Because I always like to make an entrance. Should we do? Ta-da! Welcome to the Midday Show. It's Wednesday. It is just gone midday. Good afternoon. And this is Neil Long. And really super interesting show for you today. I'm mindful of the man's time, so I'm going to bring him straight on. We're going to run for about 40 minutes today, and it's going to be a really interesting conversation. Before the Midday Show became the Midday Show, it was MRS, Men's Radio Station, which is all about men's mental health and well-being, and we're kind of veering back in that direction quite considerably today, and I can't wait to talk to this guy, so let's get him straight on. James Davis, hello mate, good afternoon.
Hey Neil, good to meet you. Thanks for having me here.
And good to meet you too. A very warm welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on. And I've had a look at your website, and it's all about men's mental health, men's well-being, which you're a massive advocate for. Literally, I was having my tyre repaired this morning, and I just got into a conversation with the man from the RAC about men's well-being. So it's a really, really important conversation. The whole mental health umbrella, of course, and women's well-being as well. But that's not your focus. So all about testosterone, I understand. Let me tell you what I know about testosterone, and then you can fill in my mini blanks. First of all, I know it's super important for a man.
Yes.
And a healthy man will have 20 times more testosterone than a healthy woman, even though women do have some. Okay. The second thing I know is it's had a bad rap over the years. I remember a phrase that went round when women would go out socially and they walk into a place where there's lots of guys. Oh, it's like walking into a wall of testosterone. But actually, testosterone's not the bad guy. It's the lack of testosterone that causes problematic behaviors in men, not the presence of it. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right. There's two sides. It's a little bit more nuanced than that. There's really two sides to the coin. So
nuance away, sir. Tell me.
Yeah. So obviously, for women, their primary hormone, sex hormone, is estrogen. So we're familiar with that. There's been so much great work around the menopause, and that's great. For men, it's testosterone, and as you say there, that's why our levels are far higher than women's, because that's our primary sex hormone. It's responsible for a number of things in the body. It helps us have energy. It helps with libido. It helps us build muscle. Helps with our concentration, our cognition. And testosterone would generally come into play. You know, when we hit puberty and everything's changing, we get this big surge in it. It will peak in our 20s. And there is a really strong link to risky behavior and high testosterone levels. That's why we tragically see, you know, so many young men involved in things like high-speed car accidents and stuff like that, because it often high levels make us act a little bit irresponsibly. But the problem is, as we get older, testosterone will peak and then it declines at a steady rate, 1 to 3% per year, which doesn't sound a lot, but if you're compounding it, by the time we're in our 50s, it could be 30 to 50% lower. And then we can start to notice the effects of low testosterone. So it's really interesting. We know that male suicides are far higher than female suicides. And one of the interesting facts is, like, younger male suicides tend to have high testosterone, but midlife and beyond, it tends to be low testosterone, because it plays this role not just for our physical makeup, but in our emotional and psychological well-being as well. When levels have declined to a certain point, you know, I think for men, we can dismiss it as naturally as as something to do with aging or just stress or lifestyle factors. And it can be that. But if consistently over, you know, a number of weeks or months, we're feeling that we've got low energy, we're just like struggling to get out of bed, we're withdrawing more from our social lives, we're not feeling as strong as we were, our libido's fluctuating or died away, then it's time to go to the doctor and get a testosterone test if you're kind of 45 plus.
Because that could be very easily written off as just getting old. But I don't accept that with the knowledge and information we have now. And that's why it's great to talk to experts like yourself about it. And quite rightly, there's massive talk about the menopause at the moment. We've talked to women on the show about that. I went to an event with my girlfriend. I was the only man in the room, apart from the guy behind the bar. But it was really interesting. And it's an important conversation because we partner with these people. Of course, it's going to affect the relationship. But the lesser known one is the andropause, of course, which is so-called the male menopause.
Yeah.
And I had a jokey argument with my girlfriend because she suffers terribly from it. And she's like, I said, but there's andropause. No, there is not. I'm like, well, I can assure you there is. So this is what you're talking about, but you're saying it doesn't have to be that way, yeah?
Exactly. And I think it's a really important point here, but it does get referred to as male menopause, which I get. It's convenient because we all know the menopause. So it's a way of, I guess, giving it a frame of reference. But we need to be careful. For women, their primary sex hormones, estrogen and progesterone, they'll fluctuate and decline in a really narrow window of time. Might not feel like it when they're going through it, but in their life cycle, which is why their symptoms can be so pronounced. But for men, it's a little bit more insidious. So like you said, we'll put it down to aging, to stress. So we're not getting this checked out and not looking at what's going on for us. But yeah, there's definitely something there. It's a biological fact that testosterone declines as we age. Therefore, at some point in our life cycle, we're going to feel the effects of having lower levels.
I've certainly had some of the symptoms that you speak of. I also read that low testosterone can lead to the so-called beer belly. Is that true? Is it connected with weight gain?
Yeah, there's an interesting link between testosterone and body fat, actually. So when we have lower testosterone, we're going to carry less muscle on our frame. Muscle's metabolically active, meaning it burns calories even at rest. So imagine that as we age, we're naturally losing muscle anyway. But if our testosterone is low and we're not maintaining that muscle mass, but our calorie input staying the same, we're going to put on more body fat. But here's where it gets interesting. Actually, higher levels of body fat are also correlated with low levels. It actually pulls down our testosterone production. So, so there's a definite link there.
A vicious circle. Yeah, I did read that somewhere. I read quite a lot of the work of John Gray, the Mars and Venus guy, but as I'm sure you know, he's done an awful lot of natural health solutions. For example, grapeseed extract and vitamin C being a drug-free solution to ADHD, etc. And he talks a lot about testosterone. That's where I get my information from. So what can we do to get those testosterone levels up to the healthy thing? Because one thing John Gray does say, if you take supplements, if you take it, then your testes will not make it. And that can lead to, it solves the problem a bit, but it kind of kicks the can down the road. What can we do for a sustainable long-term solution to this, James?
Yeah, so what he's talking about there is when we introduce exogenous hormones. So we take hormones from outside the body and introduce them. So we would add testosterone to our body. So I'll come back to that testosterone replacement therapy in a moment. But what we can do from a lifestyle perspective, there's so much we can do. It's no secret that our food is not as good as it's not as rich in nutrients. First thing we can do is like minimize sugars, because sugars are really inflammatory. They're disruptive to our hormone pathway. So we want to minimize sugar. Sadly, minimize alcohol, minimize processed food. So we go back to...
Well, that's the end of the interview. Thank you for being on that.
Right. I know. But if we do go back to and I'm not saying I always, when I'm working with people, I'm like, let's 80-20 rule, right? Let's stick to this 80% of the time, have that weekend blowout. It's not gonna matter in the scheme of things.
Yeah, don't drink on the school day kind of thing.
Yeah, if we just be mindful about this and reduce them, that will have an effect. For men in particular, exercise is a big one. So any exercise will be good, but particularly if we want to elevate testosterone, then actually resistance training, so weight training, but particularly what we call the compound lift, so where we recruit multiple muscle groups, stuff like the squat, the bench press, overhead press, row, those done regularly with heavy weights will actually elevate our testosterone levels back up. So those are two biggest things we can do: weight-bearing exercise, resistance training, and clean up our diet. But then alongside that, let's also make sure we're getting adequate sleep, that we're building in recovery time, because our hormone pathways need sleep. It's vitally important. Then supplements. So supplements, not exogenous hormones, not testosterone, just things we might be lacking in our diet. Because, let's be realistic. None of us are eating that rainbow of colors of natural food on our plate and having our oily fish. So the key ones for hormone health for men and women, actually, vitamin C, vitamin D3, magnesium, and zinc. If we can get those in, that can really help our hormone pathways as well. So that's what we can do, I guess, from the lifestyle perspective, natural. And then what you were talking about before with testosterone, TRT is becoming more commonly available. But like you say, there's pros and cons to it, right? Once we introduce an exogenous hormone, once we start taking testosterone, we will shut down our own natural production, which means that down the line, it's not I'll go on it for a bit and then come off it because I'll solve the problem. It's a lifelong commitment. So that is just something to be very aware of. If you do go down that TRT route, it's a lifelong commitment. Also, it does have contraindications for certain health conditions with men, so it's always one that you should confer with your GP on as well. It's not as clear and dried cut as perhaps HRT is for females.
That's interesting. So go and see the doctor, get a regimen for it, and do that weight bearing exercise. What about walking? Walking's my exercise of choice. Will that help or not?
Yeah, I would say, listen, any exercise, depending on the starting point, look, there's a lot of research, so we can look at the evidence-backed ways that are best, that will optimize. But being realistic, any exercise will be good, right? Particularly if you're starting from a low exercise threshold. So just getting up, moving your body, getting outside in nature if the weather will allow it, all those things will help to some degree.
I seem to remember there was a comment you made on, I think it's on the weight loss injections.
Yes.
And there's a condition, if I remember this rightly, something penis.
That's right.
I think we all need to hear this. Pay attention, men. So I know a lot of people that are on it, and I admit I am. Is it going to affect my penis?
Yes. So this is interesting. It's come out of kind of forums and user groups, and it's anecdotal evidence. Like a lot of men going, "Oh, I've suddenly appear much bigger down there, and my libido's come back." And everyone's like attributing this to the weight loss drug. Now, of course, it is due to the fact they've lost weight, but it's not due to the weight loss drug itself, right? There's nothing in the GLP-1 formulation that is...
So it's not that they've just lost weight and they can see it for the first time.
Exactly. Well, like we said earlier, you've lost weight. So when we lose body fat, especially body fat around that, that pubic bone area, it's gonna... There's more of the appendage showing, basically. So that's number one. Number two, when your weight goes down, you're going to increase blood flow, circulation. That's going to be in effect. And number three, what we talked about, if you're carrying a lot of body fat, your testosterone is going to be lower. If you drop a lot of it, your testosterone could elevate, and then your libido is going to come back as well. So that's what's behind this surprising side effect.
I thought you were going to say the opposite. I thought you were going to say it starts to shrivel up or something. And I'm really glad, and I'm sure for all the men listening, I'm really, really glad that you didn't. Now, that's interesting. We've got some wonderful people on the timeline. Questions on the timeline, please. Philip Harling. Hello, Neil, and welcome, James. Hello, Philip. Dr. Asa Don Brown. He's very senior in psychiatry in the USA and in Canada, and he's always a very welcome guest on this show. And obviously, the neurobiology is going to play a part of this. He says, "What are your recommendations for low testosterone?" I think we've covered that already. Yeah. What are the known mental health effects?
That's a great question, because I think we focus very much on, I think, because it's heritage, the physical aspects of testosterone. It's like, oh yeah, muscly, aggressive, but it plays such a role in our psychology and cognition as well. So the classic kind of symptoms of low T from that perspective are things like trouble concentrating, brain fog, low-level anxiety that can tip into depression. All those are classic signs of low T from that kind of psychological side.
And can low T have a hormonal effect on your partner? That's an interesting question.
It is interesting. I think it's not known. We know things, for example, like if your partner's pregnant, your T levels will drop as she approaches delivery date. And the thinking behind that is it's an evolutionary mechanism that females would seek out partners with high T, because it's they want the best gene pool. But then what they don't want is a high testosterone man tearing around the place while they've got a newborn. So men's T levels will drop around.
No, I did read that. I did read
pregnant
that.
partner.
Men start to, and particularly, I read also, and tell me your thoughts on this, that men's oxytocin levels increase an awful lot when there's a newborn. Why?
Yes.
Because they love the baby, and oxytocin is the love hormone, the cuddle
The
hormone.
bonding hormone,
But as the bonding hormone, right?
Yeah.
So as oxytocin levels go up, testosterone correlates by going down.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, more broadly, yeah, that can happen. And the other interesting thing, there's been research on this for men when they watch sport. If you're not casually, but if you're an avid fan, it's your team. If they lose, your testosterone levels go down. If they win, your testosterone levels go up.
Yeah,
which I think is fascinating.
No, I can believe that. And there's also, I think serotonin levels increase in the brain when people are watching something all at once. For example, like all the men down the pub in different pubs around the city. So if you could somehow measure that, the serotonin and the testosterone levels will go up and then down if the team loses. And sometimes, I mean, I used to do a lot of DJing in pubs, and sometimes when the team, particularly if England's playing, you just pray that England's going to win, and you can play Three Lions and everyone a party, and then Vindaloo by Keith Allen. And if they lose, the atmosphere in the pub can get a bit edgy, shall we say?
Yeah.
And now this is, and would that edginess be caused by high or low testosterone?
Well, interesting. That's called by low. We probably see testosterone fall, but it's kind of that disappointment factor and kind of resentment makes people a bit narky. And so it's probably not as simple as just testosterone. You were talking there about the serotonin, which is the feel good. So imagine your team's won, everyone's feeling really good. Doesn't matter. Testosterone's high. It's kind of like a bonding thing again, and everyone's like happy and dancing around. But if the team's been thrashed, you're probably like.
I remember once I was, where was I? I can't remember exactly where I was, but I was out sort of in the open somewhere, maybe doing a stand-up gig or something in a pavilion in a field or something like that. And it was deathly silent. It was the last time we were doing really well. I can't remember exactly when it was. And I looked at the watch, thought, I don't know what's happened. And there was that moment of tension for me, and then suddenly I heard Three Lions being sung from about a mile away. I'm like, yes. And it was palpable relief. So what do you do? You do lots of talks on this? Do you work in the corporate world? What do you do? Tell us about yourself.
So I wrote the book, The Midlife Male Handbook, and that really came out of my own experiences. Obviously, I'm a coaching psychologist. I was working in this field, kind of going into corporates and delivering workshops around it, but delivering leadership and performance programs. But I'm 53 in December. But as I was coming up to 50, I was delivering this stuff, and two things happened at the same time. The first thing was like I kind of started to notice a lot of the symptoms of myself. I became quite withdrawn. I was my mojo went. But I was delivering one, and this guy at the end was like, "This has been an amazing program you've delivered for us, but where is all this information in one place about what midlife men are going through? Is there a book?" And I was like, there's not. And I'd been toying with the idea of writing it for a while. And had rough drafts. So I'm like, okay, this is my impetus. Like people are actually asking for it. I know this information can help men because we'll come on to it. Something I really want to talk about, Neil, is our kind of culture and conditioning and not talking about this stuff and how bad that can be.
So, I'd love to. Yeah, we definitely do that.
So yeah, I was like, well, I'm experiencing this myself. I'm going through it. I do know what's going on. I'm going to put this out there to help other people. So,
and no one had written anything like that before?
No, I was astounded because obviously loads on the menopause. I'm a menopause practitioner as well. I go into organizations to talk about menopause. I talk about menopause allyship to male audiences. But obviously we've seen so many female celebrities bring out books, TV shows, which is amazing, and it's really great. But nothing on this. So
why do you think that is? I mean, well done, by the way, spotting that gap in the market. I mean, fair play to you, buddy. Brilliant piece of work. But why do you think that is? Why so much focus on the menopause and the so-called andropause? Not so much. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, well, I think the focus on the menopause has definitely been needed, right?
Without doubt.
The symptoms of menopause can be quite debilitating for some women, and we need to recognise the changes they're going through and how we can make adjustments in the workplace for that. Recognising the emotional and cognitive challenges.
I remember speaking to a lady called Lauren, and website is womenofacertainstage.com. And I was talking to her about podcasts. It's another side hustle of mine. I help people get their podcasts online. And she told me her story. And she thought she had early stage dementia. And when she went to the doctor and found out it was only the menopause, I quote, she said, "I was the happiest menopausal woman in Bristol," and because it was a palpable relief. And so I'm really, really aware of the symptoms that, you know, our sisters go through, you know, hugely, but not so much on the boys. But we don't talk about it as much.
No,
I think good time to segue into that. Let's just talk about male psychology.
Well, I think this is the issue, right? It's not widely known, and here's the thing: we're not routinely testing testosterone levels, so you'll still get pushback from you know, the NHS and doctors going, well, you know, andropause isn't really a thing, or yes, testosterone does decline, but how much of an effect does it have? But yeah, my counter argument is, we know it's a biological fact that testosterone declines with age, so it is going to affect the majority of men at some point in their life cycle. We don't. It might not be till they're in their 70s, right? But for many men, it's falling earlier. We know in a developed world, testosterone levels are falling generally. The average 22-year-old today will have lower testosterone levels than a 50-year-old in the 1980s.
Is that because of lifestyle? Is that because of all the chemicals in the air? Why is that? I bet if you went and found some indigenous tribes somewhere and tested them, in fact, I think this might have been done. And you know, there's the leader of the tribe, he's 80 and he's still fathering children, you know, quite happily, you know, the alpha male.
Yeah, it's a combo of factors. You know, in evolutionary terms, that shift from an agrarian lifestyle to cities was not that long ago. So we were a lot physically active. You know, we were doing intensive labour. That would be a massive effect. Our food would have been more close to natural sources. There's way more, like you said, environmental pollutants, chemicals around. All those are for sure having an effect.
I read that the nutrition levels in the food were at their peak in the Second World War when there was rationing.
Yeah, I can believe that, because we still didn't have like mass-produced food or convenience food. And
no, it's but there's so much now of this. Now, what's it called? There's a friend of mine and she's really into it. UPF,
ultra processed foods. Yeah,
and there's so much, and it just isn't good for us, is it?
No. It actually overrides again our digestive hormonal. So we have a number of hormones that operate when we eat. We have ghrelin, which tells us we're hungry, and we have leptin, which tells us we're full.
Yeah.
And when we have UPFs, it's just like the hormones don't actually recognize them as it's a chemical compound. They don't know what it is. So the leptin is not being triggered. So we'll overeat, and there's increasing evidence it disrupts other hormone pathways as well as our immune system and all the rest of it. Yeah.
So literally, you are what you eat is a pretty good little.
It is. And listen, we all enjoy our treats and things, right? But let's have them as treats, not as a staple of our diet.
No, I couldn't agree more, and I've been very guilty of that. Occasionally, still am. So yeah, conditioning. Talk to us about that for the rest of the show, because this is men I think traditionally don't talk. You know, for a woman to get her man to go to the doctor, she's got to virtually light a fire under his backside. Yeah. You know, that's the stereotype. Is there truth in that?
There is. So I did a lot of research for the book. I mean, the back of it is all the references, and I looked at the data because, of course, number one is we're not looking at testosterone levels in a general population. So there's no data out there simply because we're not testing for it at the moment. But we do know that in general terms that testosterone declines as we age. But then overlaying this, right? So we've got the impact, the psychological, physical impact of low testosterone. Overlaying that, we've got the, I guess, cultural and societal conditioning. So all the research says men are less good than women at forming and maintaining social networks. And as they age, their social networks get smaller. They isolate more and more.
Right.
We know that loneliness is at its highest ever levels in the UK. Being lonely has the same mortality impact as smoking 17 cigarettes a day. So it's a massive concern. Men also are,
men and women.
This is for men and women, for anyone that's lonely. But men isolate more than women. Men are far slower to go to their care providers when they've got a problem, that thing of going to the doctor. And then also when they have maintained a social network, they don't tend to open up about what's really going on from their vulnerabilities. So, you know, you'll see women will get together and they'll talk about, oh, these are my symptoms, my menopause, this thing's terrible. Someone will say, oh, have you tried this? Have you tried that? men just don't do that. And, a few months ago, I was in a local pub and I just got chatting to two guys at the bar of my age, and it's kind of talking as it does. What do you do? And I was talking about the andropause, but we talked for about 45 minutes. At the end, this guy said to me, he's like, you know what? I see the same guys week in, week out. And we sit around, we talk, and we go for pints. We never talk about anything like this, about relationships and impact and the physical and how we're feeling. And I'm like,
not a typical pub conversation, is it?
No. But I said, but here's your invitation to start doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm editor, as I say, I podcast with people, and there's a guy called Andrew Payne who's been on this show actually, and his podcast is Men on Show, and it's about the greatness in men basically, but it covers all the different angles. It's a fantastic body of work, and he talks about that. And some of the podcast episodes are about like men in sheds or men's groups and that sort of thing. There's many, there's progress, not perfection, but there's progress in this. And he says personally, I'm sure he won't mind me quoting him, he is most comfortable when he's got a pint in his hand. Why do us guys feel? Because I'm not that bothered about opening up, but that's just me. But I know I'm different in a sense to a lot of men in that way. I mean, what can we do? What can we do to counter this? Is it this stereotypical that big boys don't cry, men don't have emotions, stiff upper lip? Is it our Britishness kicking in here as well?
Yeah, I think it's our Britishness, and also I go like Western society conditioning, and it's exactly those things you said there. It's like don't talk about your problems. We conflate vulnerability and weakness.
Yes, we do, don't we?
If I say that I'm struggling with this thing, that makes me appear weak. And what's going on in our subconscious is, someone might then try and take advantage of that to get leverage over me.
I absolutely can relate to that.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. But actually, I'd argue vulnerability is a form of strength, because when you say, you know what, here's something I'm struggling with, you're giving permission for the other person or people to go, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with that. And then together you can find a solution to it.
Yes. And it's so sad that we don't do that. I mean, I would wager if we did, the suicide rate in men would go down.
Yeah.
So I remember when I struggled when my mum was dying about 5 years ago, I really struggled with my mental health, like all the conditions around it, and obviously seeing that it's not very pretty. And my inner voice, if you like, my critic was like, "You're letting this take you out? What, you're letting an old lady take you out mentally? You're pathetic." And this was my inner voice. And I thought, how many other guys have this thing that we're supposed to have all the answers all the time, be absolutely in charge and in control of everything? That's just bullshit. Nobody can be that. The solutions, like you say, come in, I don't want to sound like a hippie, but come in togetherness. And when you find out, and also the nature of any mental disorder, and I've said this so many times on the show, it feels like you're the only one, particularly in the age of Facebook, where everyone seems to be having a wonderful time apart from you. And you feel a mental disorder of any kind is isolating by its very nature. So when you find out that you're not the only one, that in itself is just a huge relief, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, Neil. And that was a big impetus for me writing the book, so that men could feel less alone with it. I'm privileged. I speak to so many men. They'll come out to me, reach out to me. And they're like, I don't know if I should bring this up. I must be the only person and I'm like, no, this is literally all the time. And I think
can tell you 100% you're not. If you're not
alone with this. And I think we have this perfect storm, right? For men of our generation, there's low testosterone possibly in the mix, and the effects we've already talked about there. We've got the cultural conditioning of be strong and silent. I've got to handle it all on my own. And at the same time, we're facing an identity shift through culture and technology about what does it mean to be a man in today's world, and that can be tough to navigate. Let's not make any bones about it.
Yes, because the old provider. I always remember my next door neighbours. He was a headmaster, she was a headmistress, and it literally was. They were the archetypal couple from the 50s. They got together back then, and it was the husband and the wife, and it's like this sort of cuddly, romanticized version living next door to me. But that doesn't exist anymore. Now women, quite rightly, are independent. Sometimes they don't need a man. That they might have been through so many rotten relationships that they don't want a man anymore, and it does leave us guys, particularly the good ones that treat women well, thinking, well, hang on a minute, what is my purpose here?
Yeah,
they like to feel needed, don't they? It's a need to be appreciated and needed, and competent is so important to us. Competency, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I have a theory that men need a purpose, and that can be so often what's lacking in modern life. So, possibly we get it through our career or our job, but I'd argue that's not always healthy. But we can get so caught up in just the minutiae of living life, we actually forget to check in, like, what are our values, and what do I want to achieve in the world that's aligned with those values? And again, I think social media is supposed to roll in thinking, oh, if you're going to say you've got a goal and it's got to be something really massive and worthy. It doesn't at all, right? It could be just like, oh, I'm going to show up as a much better dad to my kids. I'm going to go and do this thing. I'm going to get this hobby and just enjoy doing it. But you've got a reason to go forward with. And
you're right. And the science bears it out as well, James, because they've proven that pleasure and happiness are productive. And there's big drive to get that. We seem to think it's nose against the grindstone. The harder you work, the more you've suffered, then you can fight. But you can't have a happy end to an unhappy journey.
No,
I think attributed to Buddha, there's no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. Yeah. So it's states of being that we seek. We want to be happy. We'll be happy and do everything from that place rather than trying to get to it. And I think we've really got that on its head, haven't we?
Yeah, we've kind of been fed this lie, I'd say, since the start of probably advertising and marketing, and then accelerated through tech and social media. That it's always, I'll be happy when, right? Happiness is a destination. But when we do that, there's two things going on. We're actually ensuring we're not happy right now because we've put a condition on it. And then when we get there, it's a disappointment. We've all experienced that goal, and we achieve it, and it's like, oh, this feels amazing. But then one day, 2 days, a week later, it doesn't feel amazing. You're like, oh, what now? And I still feel kind of empty inside.
I mean, there's a healthy and unhealthy side to this. I think it's always, I think it's natural to desire more for men and women, but the key, what we're missing out is to be happy on the way while you desire more. So the journey is happiness, and then out of joy you can go. It's not like, oh, what now? It's what now? And it sort of flips it into the positive. That's healthy, but appreciating what you've got at the same time is equally as important. One keeps us happy and the other one keeps us moving forward, and it's that dance between the two. I mean, are you familiar with Robert Holden, the work of?
I've heard of him, yeah.
He's fantastic. I mean, he started his career ever so young in this, but he did a thing called the Happiness Project and did some fascinating experiments which people didn't believe would work, and actually had to get professionals in to measure them. And he gave these people, there's a documentary that if you on YouTube, I think, Robert Holden, Happiness Project. It's quite old now, but it's really worth watching. Number one, proving that permanent change was possible. So all the scientists turned up with their measuring instruments, thinking, we're going to catch him out, and they didn't. But he talks about happiness now. I think that's the name of one of his books, and he actually got a watch made where every number said the word now. So whatever time it was, you were happy now, which was a quirky but nice idea. But it really did make the point that we got some comments here. Leslie Jones, hi Leslie. Always seek medical advice if I have concern. Hence 2 appointments to cardiology this month. I get everything checked. Good for you, sir.
Very wise.
Good for you. Yeah, Leslie, again, happiness may be the way, but the paths you walk on the way are different. And that's the thing. And he's right. It doesn't matter. I think we can sometimes look at people and perhaps they found their purpose, their way, but you think, I'd rather nail my feet to the floor than do that. But the point is, it's what makes you happy. Is what gives you that sense of contentment. And to do that, like you mentioned, you need to find your values, working out it. And if you live every day from your values, then you can't fail.
Yeah. Exactly that. It's everyone's route to happiness is going to be different, but actually where we start from checking in, making sure that goal we're going for is actually our goal that's aligned with our values, that's going to fulfill us, not society's or families or culture's expectations of us.
And we can be very easily sidetracked with those three things: society's, families, culture.
Yeah.
Very, very easily sidetracked, because sometimes you can feel like an outlier, can't you? You know, am I the only sane individual in an insane society? And that can make you feel alone. But ultimately, happiness is an inside job, and it's ours. And the exercises to do that, it really starts with our own internalized values and living from that every day. And then literally, if you do that, you literally cannot fail. You can't.
No. And I think in today's society, we have to be really careful, because technologies allow us to see or given us the perception of being able to see into everyone's lives like never before. Everyone posts their highlight reel. So we're in a constant world of comparison of everyone else is doing so much better than I am. Everyone's further ahead. I need more to be happier. And actually, we need to be really, I think, aware of that. And
because there's two false in that one sentence. There's two false premises. Number one, that you need more to be happy necessarily, and number two, that everyone's doing better than me.
Exactly.
And they're two very dangerous false premises, aren't they? Because I can assure you, not everyone is doing better than me. Nobody puts their bad days on Insta.
No. But we're pulled into it, and again, research shows that because the technology is so new, our subconscious hasn't actually learnt to make the evaluation to apply the filter. So what we need to do is just be mindful about what we're consuming, but then back that up by and this is something that people slipped out of, but it's so powerful. Lots of work from the schools of positive psychology, like a daily gratitude practice. When you wake up in the morning, rather than thinking, what a day, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I haven't got this thing, wake up, go, wow, I woke up in a bed with a roof over my head this morning, warm,
which puts you in the top 5%
cozy.
in the world.
Yeah. How lucky am I? And it sounds really small, like even as little as like 2 minutes in the morning, just being grateful for the stuff you have in your life, however small, will change your thinking over time to a more positive.
I've read books, James, where people have literally turned their life around with gratitude, even with money, literally. And there's a physical, I don't know where you stand on the whole manifestation thing, but there are physical manifestations of. It was a beautiful story, actually. It's a book called The Gratitude Jar. It's just it's kind of what I would call a nice Sunday evening read, if you know what I mean. It's a nice story. And it's just a lady that made a gratitude jar. She taught her kids to do it. But then with this regular practice, you're right, the thinking changes. The thinking changes, the way you perceive the world changes. I think Wayne Dyer said, change the way you look at things, and things you look at will change. And it really did have a physical effect in her life, and her life's absolutely transformed just by, and it doesn't have to be grateful for the big things. It can be the little things. You know, I've got all these fingers, I can do things with them. I can use a computer, you know, I can see, I can hear, I can do all these things, just or appreciation. That's another one, because of course what you appreciate will appreciate. We get more of what we focus on.
Yeah.
You know,
it's fascinating. There's lots of research into optimism, again, from the schools of positive psychology, and they found that
that's a great body of work, isn't it? The positive psychology, really good.
I love it.
Yeah, it's focusing on what's right. Again,
Yeah.
it's focusing on what's present and what's right, rather than trying to fix what's wrong, like Freud or the old school and that.
Exactly, you know? And how you can lean into more of it. And it's optimists are generally report being healthier, happier, and have better relationships. But the kicker for me is optimists have better life outcomes than pessimists. And in English, that means optimists are luckier, because they're always looking for the opportunities in life rather than everything that's going to go wrong.
Rather than the lack. Yeah, absolutely true. There was I think Paul McKenna did a fantastic, fascinating study on, or he reported on it. I don't know if he did it, but it was along the lines of testing people who thought they were lucky, whether there's a thing, or depending on your point of view, an energy or of luck in and of itself. And he got some newspapers, and it was count the amount of this word in the paper, or something like that, in the headlines. Not like
it's a great experiment, this one.
Sorry about that. So you know this one. I'll just the benefit of the people listening here. And 3 pages in, there was a big headline saying, "Stop counting now. You've won the £100." Because it was £100 if you could spot 10. And the people that believed they were lucky spotted it, and the people that didn't. And that exactly plays out to what you said, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's priming your mind to really look out for those opportunities and have that gratitude for what you have.
Yeah, the reticular activation system. So they say. I'm mindful of your time. You said you had about 40 minutes free, so I'm gonna. Unless anything else you'd like to add?
No, I mean, I would just say, like, if you're the partner of a man out there and they're kind of 40 plus, and you can see that they are becoming more withdrawn, more isolated, they're not themselves, then just try and gently open up the conversation with them. Maybe suggest that they go and see their health professional and have a blood test to look at testosterone levels. We've talked about lifestyle adjustments you could make. If you're a man and you're feeling that way, then the advice is the same. But the reason I say about the partners is so often it'll be the partner that reaches out to me saying, "Oh, I've noticed this about my boyfriend, my husband. What could be going on for them?" So just signs to watch out for.
It's James P. Davis, the Midlife Male Handbook, which is available on your website, which is jamespdavis.com. Available on Amazon and all the...
Yeah, Amazon, Smiths, Waterstones, all those.
All the good stuff. And well done on writing it, and well done for spotting that gap in the market. That's very, very good work, sir. Kudos to you. Thank you so much. Thank you. All the best with everything.
Thank you.
And if people would like to learn more about your work, they know where to go, jamespdavis.com. Dr. Asa, James, I've genuinely enjoyed listening to you today. So,
thank you, Dr. Asa.
So kudos to you. James, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. Loved it. Thank you. Have a great rest of the day.
All the very best. Keep up the great work. Good afternoon. There we go. I'm going to leave that there today because I would rather do a 40-minute really good show than sort of have the last 19 minutes of me waffling on about various nonsense. But just the supplements he talked about, C, D3, magnesium and zinc, which are the important supplements for our healthy neurochemistry. And that book, once again, the Midlife Male Handbook. Russ and the gang will be here on Friday. Jonathan Baz, theatre critic, king of the cravat, Phil Dave, and Chantal Ricard's the inimitable screen queen, telling you what's good to watch on TV. And there's some really good stuff at the moment. I recommend The Killing Kind on Netflix, getting into that at the moment. And Hostage is good, but my girlfriend's ahead of me because I fell asleep and she was binge watching it still. That's my problem, not yours. Maybe if I had higher testosterone, it wouldn't happen. Who knows? I'll see you next Monday with Russ, and he'll be back with the gang on Friday. Asa Don Brown, lovely to have you on the timeline today. And Philip, of course, and Leslie, and all our regulars, plus everybody watching around the world, or if you're watching the replay on YouTube or one of the platforms, hello to you, and I hope it's been useful to you. Neil Long on Facebook, or at the Neil Long on Insta if you'd like to get in touch with me. Is there a subject you'd like me to deep dive into? Some burning questions, because if I don't have the answers, I can find a man or woman, as the advert says, that can. So do let me know if there's something you'd like to have a deep dive into on the Midday Show. Always happy, as a typical DJ, to take your requests, except it's not for music, it's chat and answers, and I'm very happy to do that side of things as well. Anyway, very good afternoon to you. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, or whatever time it is in the world, and you take care. Good afternoon. Now I adopt a silly pose while I end the stream. Hold on. And it gets really awkward to stay like this. Really, really awkward. Not in very